paused for the logic test. I don't know how old he was, but at some point he lost track of the fact that I was split in the cab with him because I was broke. But I don't know. I don't know where his logic brain was in all of this, but the whole point of the whole reason that he and I were together, even trying to problem solve anything, is because your girl had no cash. So I don't know what he was looking for. But he literally kneeled down on top of me, and the bag was next to me, so I couldn't move over because his duffel bag was next to me. I was sitting next to the car. He was kneeling on top of me. Maybe he's 5'6". He's not big, and big enough. And I'm shouting, like, get the fuck off me, what the hell's the matter with you? Like, and he's got his hand down my shirt in my bra, and he's like, give me your money. And when I look over to see what the cab driver's doing, that window I told you, yeah, is going up. And that's the only thing I can see. And underneath the armpit of the guy that's lording over me is that the window between this and me and any help is closing. So whatever's going to happen next is, it's not going to happen because that cab driver thought he would help. All my life, I had believed that I didn't want to live for a really long time. Really up until this point in my early 20s, I really believed that I struggled so much with depression that I did a lot of ideation and often wondered what was wrong with me because I wasn't able to actually execute it. And I would get mad at myself because I would wail and moan in this really depressed state. And I believed that it was the only way that I could respond to things. And it actually turns out that that was something that was modeled for me. And I do know that state, and I'm familiar with it and how hard it is to get out of it. And I'm also familiar with the fact that there's a lot of programming that happens to us in our worlds, and we start believing things about ourselves that aren't necessarily true. And so part of this story here is actually about how this moment, my intuition and my inner self and who I really was just came screaming out to the top and was like, no, absolutely fucking not. This is not how it's going to happen. And so that's why I'm telling the story, because it was this moment where the story I'd been told about who I was and then the reality of who I was, they didn't match anymore. And the one literally jumped out and shattered the other one. All right, so bra is like on top of me, and I'm like, okay, so it's not just Columbine that's crazy, like it's my life that's crazy. It's okay, it's Philadelphia in 1999, and your girl's got a few things to learn about keeping her head on a swivel. But guess what? She's just new here. She's not new. And she's tougher than everybody else thinks she is. Because she's already done some shit. For better or worse, she's done some shit. So, like a lot of people, your angels show up in funny forms and you don't always know what it is. But that day, the angel that showed up was my dad. And it was his voice in my head, training me on the road, right? The slowest point in any turn, Jackie, should always be right before you make it. And if you want to make sure that you're not going to be in any danger, you want to make sure your tires are not turning at the same time that you're braking. So you want to brake before, and that way the turn itself is easy. So the slowest point in any turn, none of you got this out loud, I'm sure, but my dad actually wanted to say everything out loud to me. The slowest point in any turn is right before you make it. 63rd and Media, 45 miles an hour. He takes a left turn to go into the city, probably onto Market or something that's going to take us to Market. And my dad pops into my head. This is the slowest point in any turn. and I can't see anything. There's a bag next to me, a man in my lap, no place to go. And the only thing that I see, the only exit I see, is a door with a handle. And I think to myself, what happens if I jump out? Guess what? I've done this before. It was slower and it wasn't easy, but you know what? It wasn't this. I pop open the door. We're slowing down. Pop it open. Dude, who thinks he's in charge, gets scared. He jumps off my lap. I don't know if he thought I was going to throw him out, but he acted like I was going to throw him out. That hadn't occurred to me yet. I kind of wish it had. I'm not mean by nature, so it was more about self-preservation for me. So for me, I popped open the door. I don't know if this had any response at all to the driver. I don't know what happened for him. I can genuinely say I'm completely unaware what happened to him after this point. I opened the door, I put my foot out, and I let it hit the ground because that's actually all you have to do for the ground to take you back. Remember? And my brain knew this. And I knew this, and something about me knew this, and I stepped out of that car at 45 miles an hour in the media, 63rd and media, in the middle of the night. It was midnight now, 12:30, something like that. It's late. Things are going down. Like, it's late. Now I'm in the middle of West Philly by myself, rolling through the intersection. Okay. Now this freaks all the gentlemen in the car, right? The fuck out. And that's probably something I'm most proud of, is that in the whole situation, it turns out that I was the one with the most backbone. So bro drops out, right? He sees that what happens, and he jumps out of the back of the seat. And I thought he was going to come after me, but actually he jumps out himself and runs away, and then the cab driver drives away. And so now I'm standing in the middle of 63rd and Media. But I think when he jumps out of the car that he's coming to me. So there's a car at the intersection. Some poor guy. It's probably a doctor on his way from work or some crazy nonsense. It was some very normal looking person in a very normal looking car having a very normal looking night. And I'm rolling across the road on my way over to him, and I see the guy jump out of the car halfway down the block, 200 yards from where I am, and I'm like, this, I'm not staying anywhere near this guy. And I pop open the next closest door, because what do I have to lose at this point? And I almost get into a car with a guy who's like, what's happening? And why are you doing this? And then I realize the dude is running the other way, and I see the guy inside the car. Oh, never mind. I don't need a ride. Not that you were offering. And I closed the door. And to be totally fair about all of this, at the time I'm not laughing at all. This is a very traumatic experience at the time. I'm very, very unhappy. Although I'm actually okay. The PVC jacket took most of the hits, and so did the boots. So they're a little scuffed up and everything, and so is my wrist. I broke my favorite watch. But all in all, it came home with me. I could have gotten it repaired if it mattered that much. It was one of those types of things. So there really weren't that many losses when you consider what could have happened. Traffic wasn't that bad, and then the poor gentleman whose car I tried to hop into, just like the light turned, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get right out of here. So good luck with whatever this is." Off he goes. Um, a woman eventually ends up helping me in the middle of the night. She and her mom, she's a nurse, she comes home, they call the cops, they get me home, I get checked out, I'm okay. There's a trauma response after. I have to rebuild trust with a lot of things and people, and in doing it I actually discover how many different ways I'm taken care of by my neighbors and my neighborhood. And so it ends up being a very great story about things, because the more I told people about what happened to me, the more the people who lived in my community worked to make sure that they could see me. Because at the time I was single, I was not living with anybody. was not dating anybody. And so the business owners and the store owners and the shop owners that I visited with would actually like wave to me on my way home when I would walk my commute home, just to let me know that they saw me and they knew I was, so I see you getting home safe. And they would look for me. And if I wasn't there, they would ask, why not? And they would worry. So I would feel like I had to tell them if I wasn't going to be around. But it was nice because it was how I found out that you don't need to have somebody living with you to have people caring about you and to making sure you're okay. And there were a lot of people that really helped me heal 6 months afterwards because it took a long time. It was scary to even go outside and like get lunch during the day for me for a while. Like I struggled just with being around people for a while and had to um, work through a fair amount of like trauma about trust and things like that. So it was really, really intense, that whole experience. But also it was just one of those like, huh? Did you guys just see what happened? And the funny thing is that nobody did. Nobody saw what happened. I was the only one who was there. That lovely nurse that helped me out, and I still appreciate you, ma'am. Thank you for your service, your assistance, your solidarity, and your safety, because I was not okay, and I needed help. I needed help, and I really needed feminine help at that point. So I'm grateful for that woman and her mother at 63rd and Media. If you ever see this, thank you. I'm still okay. I have not jumped out of anything since then. I have not needed. I don't plan to. So here's the learning from things. But again, what I learned is I'm not who I thought I was. I'm afraid of a lot of things. But maybe it wasn't fear that made me not go through with my ideations. Maybe it was knowing that I wanted to live. And what I found out that day was how much I wanted to live, how much I was willing to fight in order to make sure that I did, and what I was willing to put myself through, and what I was willing to set aside, and what my instincts were, which was truly, really, really mind-blowing to me, because I did not even know that I had that in me, y'all. I did not know I had that in me. But when I learned that I had that in me, it changed. It changed who I was. It changed how I saw myself. It changed something inside of me. Holy crap. Do I know how powerful I am? Whose story have I been living? What else isn't true? And that's what the cracks are where the light gets in. For me, the cracks were that moment when I hit the ground at 63rd and Media and my intuition burst out and was like, no, we're not going down like this, and off we go into the, oh God, who knows what's going to happen to us next, but it's got to be better than this. It's got to be better than this. And it's one of my crazier stories. I have crazy stories. I've got a lot of great stories. I've got a lot of great close encounter stories, because I told you I'm protected. My angels watch over me and make sure that I'm safe, because I do things like step out of moving vehicles sometimes. So it was a wild experience. It was a crazy thing, and then somehow all of it, that April 24th, 1999, there was this day where Jackie discovered who she was in a whole bunch of really interesting ways. My connection to solidarity with people and social justice and the community and trauma and wisdom and pain and all the different things that you experience when you are in a city like Philadelphia. And so, if what you have to do there is get broken in, then that was part of my breaking in there. And and it was great because it really ended up helping me break out of my old storylines, and that was such a freaking gift. Um, but also it ends up, and I love my analogies, so we got to come up with one more analogy of the whole thing, which is, um, I know a little bit about shocking transitions, like an abrupt transition, a shock. It's actually in my chart. Um, Responding in the gate of shock in human design is something that's actually so it's part of who I am. So I know it really intimately, and it's part of something that I come with. So it's part of what my gift is back to the world is dealing with the gate of shock, and how do you express that. So some of you have that gate open, and that means that you're here to learn through the gate of shock. So maybe right now you are going through something and you're like, oh my God, I've never been through this before. This is absolutely horrifying. I don't know what to do. This is shocking. I've lost somebody, something, an event has occurred, something has taken me somewhere I don't know. I've gotten a diagnosis, I've gotten information, I've discovered something I can't undiscover. Whatever that shocking moment is, that light bulb moment, that flash that comes into everything, it's new to you. And it's shocking, and you're like, I don't know what to do with this. And your experience in this is to learn how. How do I do this? How do I learn through this shocking experience? And what is given back to me? And my job in this, because I have this gate in my chart, and because it's part of what I know so well, I carry it with me. You see, I've jumped out of cars already. I can tell you about the experience and how it is to hold that. So I can tell you it's jarring. And then also there are tools to help you recover from it. Everything from soft tissue damage, ask me about soft tissue damage because I love fascia blasting. But from that to like, how do you free yourself and your mind out of it? So part of what I'm here to do is to teach people from my own knowledge about these shocking moments where things happen, where you get fired, where somebody dies, where something happens and it's all changed forever and you can't see what the good is. I'm here to tell you I can always see what the good is. And that's what part of my gift is, because I understand the gate of shock. And I understand it as a motivator and a way to help you use it to propel you forward, and not always just to keep you frozen in fear. And so that's what the difference is between like, oh my gosh, I'm frozen in shock, and like why I feel like I can tell you a funny story about jumping out of a cab when I was being mugged by some guy when I was in my early 20s, you know? And so it's about like, how do you integrate this experience and what do you do with it? And I'm like, I could tell you what I do with it. I've been training all my life for this. I know what to do. Why? Because the gate of shock is my friend. Do any of you know my story? Have any of you heard my story from the beginning? Or do you know me from my past? Is there anything about me that's not shocking to you right now? Um, do you know where I came from? Do you know what I've overcome? Do you know who I know? Do you know who they are? Do you know what happened when I got here? Do you know any of it? Do you know what's going on in my life right now? All of it's shocking. Shock is everywhere in my world. It's what I reside in. And it is something that people are like, I don't understand how you do it. And I'm just like, no, you don't understand. There's shock in it. And in that shock is this huge amount of power and energy that comes in. And that power and energy, it's not always a bad power and energy. Sometimes that shock shakes you out of that mold that other people told you that said that you were small. Sometimes it shakes you out and says, no, I want to live. That's what the gate of shock will teach you. Purpose. So if you feel like you're trying to contend and you don't know how to contend with just one shocking thing after the next, and like, what do I do with this? This is the gift. This is the gift that I have. This is where I excel, actually. The gate of shock. I know intimately. And I would say that if there's any one thing I would caution you to consider as you're going through whatever shocking experience you might be having. I want you to consider how you can be better to yourself while doing it. How can you be nicer to yourself? How can you be more gracious to yourself? How can you be more forgiving of how you got here or why you got here or what was supposed to happen? And how can you accept the fact that maybe that was exactly what was supposed to happen to you, for you? It's not happening to you. It happens for you. Look what happened for me. I stepped out of a bus in London like an idiot, and it taught me something so that I could step out of a bus, of a cab in Philly like an idiot. And it taught me something again. I have a Jupiter retrograde in my chart, so there's like a learning curve repeat cycle. Yeah. No. If you guys know me in my real life, you know I have learning curve repeat cycles. I do this. I revisit beginnings and endings, and some of them are traumatizing, and it's about what you decide to do with it. And I know a lot of people who allow themselves to be destroyed by their trauma, and you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Actually, please don't. If you could stop, that'd be great. It really would. It would be better for you. It would be better for me. It would be better for the world if you were nicer to yourself. Because you deserve it. Because you're the only one who's there all the time. So if you're nicer to yourself, it's just better. You know? The whole point of, I think, all of this was like, how could you go through this experience and not let it damage you, but not just let it not damage you, but how can you let it be something that contributes to you? How can you let it be something that informs or educates or betters or expands or explains or shows you something you haven't seen before? You know? That's that was a lot of what it was. So it's again, like, what are you looking for when you're looking for the answers? Are you looking for the answers in the past about what has always happened? Or are you looking to the future for what could appear? Are you looking for what you've been told and the only thing that you know because it's the only song that you've ever sung? Or are you ready to write a new song? Or ask somebody to write it for you and just play it all the time? You know, there's all kinds of different ways to do this. It's just about how you do it. You don't have to do it as abruptly as me. You don't have to throw yourself out of the back of a taxi in order to shake yourself into who you are. I'm sure there are easier ways. You know? But I also can tell you, it's a hell of a lot easier to go through life knowing who you are after you've been thrown out of the back of a cab than it is to go through life the way that you were before you did that. When you were still the person who thought you wouldn't ever do it. I became more expansive that day. I became more capable, more potent. I became more powerful in my own mind that day, just because I realized that I had stupid courage, that I had to desire for more. So, you know, sometimes we can surprise ourselves, but the real question is, are you going to choose to see it as a gift? Where is it? What's the information that you're getting? And will you see it as a gift? I think you could see in all of this story how many opportunities there are to critique any of the choices or the decisions that I may have made. And I recognize that and have actually gone through and critiqued plenty of it in my past. Yeah, I did that, so thanks. But now I look at it and I'm like, no, there's parables in this experience too, and the part of it is like, oh my gosh, Jackie is crazy. Yeah, a little bit, but like in like the best